Good afternoon, football fans. Craig Zimmerman, Jesse Laboon with Carter Barney on the camera on a middle of the afternoon on a Thursday. And Jesse, we're here just coming off the scrimmage against Lakeview High School. Pretty competitive scrimmage, and that was a Division I team that the Mariners played today. And we'll open up the season, depending when you're seeing this, but they'll open up the season on Friday night at East China Stadium against Armada, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, sure will.
I'll talk about a little bit about the past 4 or 5 seasons, just to give people a little tune-up about, you can't remember which season was which and how we did in that season or this season. Last year we ended up in 2023, a 9-2 campaign. Lost the opener to Armada 40-20, and lost the district final to Lutheran North 32-30. Both close games that were really a turnover away from being really on the Mariners side. 2022, we're 8-3. We lost Armada to open it by a point. Lost to Durand in a late season battle at Durand 48-28, and then lost to Flint Hamady in a barn burner at East China Stadium in the district final. 21, most people remember that one for the year. We went to Ford Field once again, 13-1. Lost to a Grand Rapids Catholic Central at Ford Field 31-7. Year before that, COVID year of 2020, 8-2, which technically would have been 8-1. We forfeited Notre Dame Prep because of a COVID issue. We lost to Frankenmuth in regional finals 31-7, and all the way back to 2019, 10-1, lost to district in the district final to Elmont 22-20. So one of the things, Jesse, that I look at in a lot of these losses that may have been late or early for that matter, they were like one-score games either way.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that a little bit more. This is the beginning of our 8th season, so 8 years have gone by in a sort of a blink of an eye. So let's talk about the upcoming season.
Yeah, so we'll start off with Armada here, home opener. Again, like Craig said, depending on when you're seeing this, next Friday night. Total games against Armada, we played 10 times, so we're 5-5 with a record there. And just as I go through every year, I always note how many kids are in the school. So
yep.
Marine City has an enrollment this year of 512, and Armada, just for comparison's sake, has 581. So following the Armada home opener, we will travel to Madison. That's an away game. We are 6-2 versus Madison. Madison has a school enrollment of 715. Following that, week 3, we're back at home versus St. Clair. St. Clair has a school enrollment of 733, and we've played 72 games versus St. Clair. We are 47-21-4. And I was curious about that, and I was going to go back and look at the records and see what years we tied. I don't recall any of those,
no.
But that's always a great. It doesn't matter what week it is or what your record is. It's always a good rivalry. Same school district, and boy, you think that you come out away from there with a tie, and both teams are like, can we just play maybe one more quarter? Because you definitely want to see a winner come out of that game. Week 4, we are home against Centerline, 2 home games in a row. Centerline has an enrollment of 647, and we're 14-0 versus Centerline. Following that, we'll go down to Southlake. They have an enrollment of 515. We are 13-1 versus Southlake. We were talking a little bit about that loss there, the single loss against Southlake at the scrimmage. So, but yeah, you're right. When you said earlier, all these years just kind of blend together, and you can't remember what year is what. But if you want to remember, I tell you the easiest thing to do is get on the internet and also get on CTV. It's nice to have all those games archived, and you can go back and watch basically anything that you want to watch there. Following the Southlake away game, we are going to come back to Marysville. I think that's our homecoming game. Be a home game. We are 37-41 versus Marysville. They have an enrollment of 767. Following that, we'll travel down to East Point. That could be a potential Saturday 1 p.m. game. I don't know if that's set in stone or not yet, but it sounds to me like it is. But we'll see how that goes. That's away. They have a school enrollment of 812. And we are 7-1 versus East Point. The last 2 games of the season are teams that I don't think we've ever played. We're going to play Jackson home. That's going to be quite a trip for them. But they have an enrollment of 969, the largest school we'll play this year. And then following our last game of the season, or for our last regular season game of the season, will be Detroit Central. That'll be a away game, and they have a relatively low, they'll be the lowest number. They have 317 for enrollment.
Yeah, always an exciting time of year. People will ask the question around town, how's the Mariner team look? What are we going to be like? And my standard answer is I think we should compete just like we always have. The interesting thing nowadays is that with, say, 450 or whatever amount of students it is exactly, we're about half the size we were 20 years ago. We were in the mid-eights or low eights. And this year, not that it matters specifically to what division you're in, but we're a Division 6. We won state championships in Division 5 and 4. But the competition is formidable in any of the divisions that you come against. And it may be some of the teams maybe that you played in 5, you may play because they may have gotten smaller too. That's always a big issue. You also look at the competitive nature, Marine City St. Clair, Marine City Marysville, the rivalries. As much as you can sit here and say how much Marine City is dominated, it's a new season, it's new players, graduates have gone on, time for the underclassmen to play. We feel like we've got an advantage in the coaching staff that's been there for many, many years. So we have a good outlook on the team. The coaching staff, Darren Letson, the head coach, offensive line coach Joe Forgetto. Joe has been part of the program for about 20 years, roughly. Andy Shields been there for many years. Defensive line, Tony Scarcella, you know his name. He's been around forever. Gary Griffin is back in the orange and black. Gary coached, I want to say, up to about 4 or 5 years ago in Marine City. Skipped over to St. Clair, then to Yale, and now he's back at Marine City. Other assistants, Mike Westrick, former player. And so from that standpoint, got a lot of consistency there. We'll go over the roster a little bit to give people sort of the familiar names. We'll do every other one, and we'll talk about their jersey number and the grade that they're in. Paul Muscat starts it off. He's number 2, and he is a senior.
We've got number 3, Tucker Volkman. He is a freshman.
Number 4, Tyler Wilcox, senior.
Number 6, Easton Laboon. He's a senior this year.
Number 7, Nathan Beaker. He's a junior.
Number 8, Daniel Vandeviver, a senior as well.
Number 9, familiar last name, Nick Ruffino. His brother played on varsity. Nick is a junior.
Number 10, Cooper Letson. He is a senior.
And number 12, senior Spencer Sanchez.
And number 13, also senior, Michael Blunden.
And we go to 15, Aiden Pierrick. He's a junior.
Number 16, Donald Cartwright, a junior, I'm sorry.
And starting quarterback will be number 17, Lincoln Osterlund, a junior.
And number 18, Elijah Ringheisen, 11th grade, the junior.
Number 20, Jabin Holden's a sophomore. We saw him get some touches this morning in the scrimmage.
Yep, sure did. Number 21, Landon Augusta, a senior.
23, Austin Brown, a junior.
24, Dakota Droptenney, a junior.
Number 25, William Higbee, a junior.
Number 26, Ian Tetler, a senior.
Number 27, Zach Andrews, junior.
Number 28, Landon Miller, a junior.
And then number 29, Marshall Miller, a junior.
And to round out the Millers, Austin Miller, 33, junior.
And next up, number 48, Judd Brown's a senior.
Number 50, Jacob Loper, a sophomore.
51, Derek Mishoff is a senior.
Number 52, Austin Kohler, a senior.
53, another last name we recognize, Chase Ramsey's a junior.
Number 55, Cameron Matthews, a junior.
Number 58, Alexander Teed, a junior.
Number 59, Jacob Armstead, a sophomore.
Number 64, Gaetan Urbani IV, junior.
Number 71, Demetrius Lee, a senior.
And next up would be number 72, Nathan Golan, senior.
Number 74, Michael Myron, a junior.
And next up be 75, Trey Steinmetz, sophomore.
Number 78, Walid Azar, a junior.
Next up for the Mariners, 79, Noah Northrup, senior.
Number 80, E.J. Forgetto, a junior.
Number 81, Logan Morrison, a junior.
And to round it out, number 84, Colin Gabler, a senior.
So, peppered in there, you've got a lot of seniors, a fair amount of juniors, 3, 4 sophomores, and a single freshman. So some interesting things we saw. You know, you're going to see with 400 and whatever odd students that we have, you're going to see a fair amount of playing both ways. So let's talk about that, Jesse.
Yeah, they do a good job of tapping their resource there with you know, getting the players to go both ways. And early in the season, it can be a little bit. We've seen it in the past. It can be a little challenging with the cramps and the heat and stuff like that. But no doubt they'll rise to the occasion. You know, we go to the scrimmage today, and you see these kids, and there's no names or on jerseys, and you're kind of trying to put the names with, you know, the body language and stuff like that, which we'll all pick up, you know, as the year goes by. But it just, you know, you see these kids come out and you're like, wow, man, that kid's a hard runner. Like, you know, who was that and why? You know, they were on JV last year, and all of a sudden they just, to me, it's like, why haven't you heard about this kid? You know what I mean? So it's nice to see.
Yeah, and we saw today in the scrimmage where you're going to see a lot of different looks, and they're going to experiment a little bit. I think the interesting thing from the Mariners' standpoint is we saw snaps at quarterback from two different quarterbacks. We'll talk about that a little bit. And we don't like to talk about abilities or what we think will happen because we don't know. Coaches will put these kids in the best possible position to win, but obviously everybody's going to look for Lincoln Osterlin at quarterback. And Lincoln may play some defense as well, but then you look at number 3, Tucker Volkman, as a freshman. He took a lot of snaps today and looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, he sure did. Yep, for, you know, a freshman to come in and you know, never even having experienced the elevation of play from 8th or 9th grade to JV, you come up as a freshman, you know, and you get into that situation and that pace of play and the physicality, and he looked really good today.
Yep. One of the things that I mentioned when we started was the fact that Lakeview is a good test as a scrimmage because they're a Division I team. They're a big school. They competed against Dakota in the district finals this past year. And they had some big boys, both sides of the ball, and we competed pretty well. You know, in a scrimmage, you don't necessarily say you won or lost. You know, we scored 3-4 touchdowns, I think, and I think Lakeview scored 2 or 3 touchdowns. I didn't keep track of it exactly, but good competition against a solid team. Starting out the season, you know, Armada's got our number, 2 in a row. We don't see that happen too often in Mariner country here, but you know, it's got to be a big game for both teams. You want to get off to a quick start. However, if you look at both past seasons, the loss did not affect much going forward. It's certainly good competition. You want to win it. We know that. But Armada's going to bring a strong team in because they are returning, you know, I want to say somewhere around 21 returning seniors. So should be interesting. Then who do we have week 2 again?
Madison will be away at Madison.
Okay. And then, so you got the first 2 weeks. Big one right off the bat against Armada. Second one, Madison. And then you're back home against your arch rival, St. Clair. Could be very, very interesting from both standpoints, Marine City and St. Clair. St. Clair, I believe, plays Richmond in the first game. And if the Saints get off to a victory in game 1, I think they play Lincoln in game 2, which, you know, you hate to say it's a gimme, but I mean, if they start out 2-0, they come in sky high.
Yeah, they're coming into Marine City. You know, they're away this year, but they'll come into Marine City undefeated, and you definitely know they're going to be ready to play.
We talked earlier before the camera went live. Last time Mariners met the Saints, both undefeated teams, was what year, Jesse?
2019. I was just looking at it. 2019, and that was in week 7. So you had 2 6-0 teams going at it, and you know, you go back and watch that game there on CTV. There was a lot of people there. You know, it was just a great environment.
Yeah. Weather's been pretty perfect for these kids playing football as far as temperatures. Weather's been about in the mid-70s to start, which typically you see, you know, temperatures in the high 80s or 90s when it comes around football time, but they've been lucky that way, I think, practicing in some pretty good weather. It's cool in the mid-70s now, but I hear it's supposed to get a little warmer this weekend. We'll see what game time brings, but it doesn't matter. Both teams play on the same surface with the same temperature and everything. JV team, obviously they are playing Lakeview as we speak, so they're doing the noontime start for their scrimmage, and they'll start. little bit different this year. We're going to start at East China Stadium. I believe it's 4 o'clock for JV, 7 o'clock for varsity. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. 7 o'clock start.
So, get there early, get there and watch the JV. A little bit of time in between, catch both varsity teams doing their warm-ups and everything else. Anything we need to discuss here, Jesse?
No, I think we've short and sweet this year. We went through some statistics like you had before, and yeah, I think we've got it.
There's
pretty good.
one thing that I mentioned a couple of years ago. I brought this up. This was a article by Mick McCabe in the Free Press a number of years ago, and I think this is just sort of a reset of the fall seasons for high school sports. And what he wrote about was parents need to be realistic about college prospects. And I think it's important because when you look in the stands and you hear some hollering, whether it be at kids or officials, it's, I think, to be noted. It says here that the NCAA says that less than 2% of high school athletes receive even partial athletic scholarships. So most kids are not in that 2%. And the other thing is, people questioning whether a specific kid should be playing, shouldn't be playing. I always say leave that up to the coach, because the coach is there 4 or 5 days a week playing with them. And they're obviously wanting to put them in a position to win. Another thing, I always say I don't care if it's baseball, I don't care if it's football, I don't care if it's basketball. Officiating is not an easy thing. Yes. I happened to watch something. I was watching Little League World Series, and I watched a bang play of an out at first, and Little League World Series now goes to replay. But you see some of these bang plays, the officials get them right most of the time. They get them right most of the time. And for anybody to question a play, it's like, I don't think any official goes out there to want to have a specific team or a guy be out or not out or whatever. So give them a little break, let them call the game. And the other thing I always say is, I've yet to see officials change their calls once they make the call.
Challenged, yeah.
They're going to make the call best way they do it, and they're going to move on. So let's see good sportsmanship on the sidelines for Mariners football stands. We always look forward to seeing all the people in the stands. It's almost like a season ticket standpoint, because people are all in this same signed seats, right? I'll hand this over to Jesse, and tell us, Jesse, what we can expect at the games from a spectator standpoint. Fireworks, no fireworks, any other issues going on? Tell the people.
Yeah, thanks. So we've had a lot of donors around the area to donate their hard-earned money, and we try to do the best we can and make it good for the players and the fans. So I term it the fan-player experience. So yeah, you can expect at a home game win, you can expect fireworks. Of course, you're going to have the cannon. You're going to have the Mariner boat. You'll have the smoke out of the tunnel. You'll have the flame shooters when the team runs out. So nothing special, nothing crazy addition this year. There's enough on that plate already, but I just wanted to mention one thing. Craig, you said going back to sportsmanship and stuff like that. I always say, you can. It's easy, not easy, but it's easier to be a superstar, right? It's easier to go out and work your tail off all week and then go have just a stellar game on a Friday night. But the kids that are really working and building their charactership is the kids that maybe don't get a lot of playing time. They're there Monday through Thursday, and be honest, without those kids, you can't have a realistic practice. So it's any organized sport, whether it be baseball, basketball, or football. I think it just goes a lot to someone's character and to build up through life to be involved in something like that. And you may not always get what you want, but it builds you up for life, and I think it's a great addition.
I've always said that when you look down there from press box or in the stands, when you see these kids on the sidelines, I think it's harder to be player number 25, 30, 35, 40 than it is to be player number, say, if you're counting 11 starters on offense, 11 I think it's harder to be number 25 than it is to be number 11 or 22, because you're giving as much effort in a lot of cases as that kid that's starting, and maybe you're not as gifted. But to put in all the practice Monday through Thursday says a lot about any kids. But I think the other thing is to give the coaching staff credit for what they've built, from Jerry Warkentine to Bob Siskevich to Tony Scarcelli to Ron Glodich, Darren, the current staff. They build these kids into a mode of everybody's as important as the next, because, like Jesse mentioned, you got scout team. You're going at it Monday through Thursday. The starting offense is going against Scout D, they call it. The Scout defense is basically the scheme that the team that you're going to compete against on Friday. So that coach is going to coach those kids to say, okay, here's what they do. You want to mimic what they do. The talk about it is that they don't just run through the motions. They want to be as close to that other team as they can. And if you put a terrible Scout defense, then you're not going to have a good result on Friday night, and vice versa for the Scout offense. And that's a hard thing, like I say, to watch some of these kids that don't get a lot of playing time. They're putting a lot of effort in too. And so, yeah, give credit where credit is due, and let's cheer for all the kids. So let's hope that we have a good big carry on of a Mariners successful season, and we will see you Friday night from East China Stadium.